I'm in love with Alexei. He loves Alicia. Alicia's having an affair with Lev. Lev loves Tatiana. Tatiana loves Simkin. Simkin loves me. I love Simkin, but in a different way than Alexei. Alexei loves Tatiana like a sister. Tatiana's sister loves Trigorin like a brother. Trigorin's brother is having an affair with my sister, who he likes physically, but not spiritually.
Who the hell are all of these people?
And welcome back to another episode of Crips and Corks. I'm your host DJ, and I love those apple-bottom jeans, along with my co-host,
Paul. And this place is a prison! As usual.
Wow, you've been holding that one in for a while.
Yeah, it's been a very, very long week. So we are in the lead up to my trip to Iceland, right?
Yes, I didn't know you were going to dox where you were going. All of our Icelandic followers are going to mob you now.
Oh yeah, I'm sure after that whole Christmas episode we did in Iceland, I'm sure they're thrilled to see me. Mm-hmm. When we were talking about the thunder floof or the murder floof. The murder floof and all the stepsons or whoever.
I think the only international listeners who would like to meet you more are the Irish and the French.
Yeah.
And when I say excited, I mean excited as in murderous rage.
Oh, yeah. I definitely should not go to those countries, and I will not be going to those countries. But the one I am going to, there is a lot of work that has to be done for you guys for the podcast and everything. As a full-time worker and a paranormal podcaster, we have to keep the content going, and that means prepping beforehand. So everything you're seeing now was filmed
previously, far in advance. And it's so kind of you, honestly, with everything you've got going on, that you're focusing on your career, on your podcasting career, and just actively choosing not to get into shape before vacation, saying, fuck it, I don't want to get screwed on this trip. I'll go there looking like a pudgy troll, because there are things that are more important than my own self-esteem. And that is so inspiring, truly.
You know, I'm doing it for the people. What can I say? I'm doing it for you guys. We're sacrificing everything. You got me there, bitch. But no, your boy is tired, for sure. And I also... misfortune continues to fall upon our community this week, as I have once again got us banned from TikTok. And this time, I got us banned from going live on TikTok for taking my shirt off for likes. And I don't know, well, this goes back to what DJ was just saying. Maybe if I did a few more push-ups, maybe we wouldn't have gotten banned from TikTok live for taking my shirt off.
I believe my exact phrase was, how do they know you actually took your shirt off? It just looks like a plain white t-shirt.
I am very pale, yeah, and that comes from being inside all the time. And yeah, I'm continuing to be this pale throughout the summer, and that's just what we're doing, you know? The sun burns.
I used to work in retail for many, many years. I will not name the establishment. It rhymes with races. And because you're always inside, you'd get paler in summer than you did any other time of the year. And so we all called it a retail tan, and it was basically a reverse tan where you got paler the longer the summer went on.
Yeah, that's gonna be me for sure. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with being pale. All my pale brothers and sisters unite. We're leaving the sun behind. We're not doing fake tan. We're not getting the skin cancer. We're not doing all that gig, okay? And also to TikTok Live, I'm not sorry.
Well, we knew that. Do you have a blessing somewhere in there?
No, go ahead. Tell us about your week.
Okay. My week was fine. Blessing. Lent is almost over.
Woo!
Yeah, I'm getting real tired of fish, and...
Actually, I do like a fish stick. I'm fucking with a fish stick. Oh, girl.
See, I don't like fish sticks, and so I like very non-fishy fish.
Mm-hmm.
But my grandmother also had hand surgery, so she can't cook, and so my grandfather's having to cook for the first time in his life. And this could not have come at a worse time because Lent, and he's trying to figure out how to cook fish when he doesn't even know how to cook regular food. And so...
I would argue fish is one of the most regular foods.
Not in my life. I'm not a big seafood eater. None of us are. And so it's just like... It's like you take a couple bites of the fish and then you go, well, that's something that happened to me. And then you eat potatoes.
See, I think your problem is they probably try and get like salmon fillets and shit that take real cooking. You have to get the fish sticks and just put that bitch in the oven and it's so good. Or the fillets and make a sandwich, girl. It's not that hard.
No, they got salmon once and it turned out really well because it was like pre-prepped and all they had to do was stick it in the oven.
See, why not do that? What are you all even trying to do?
Because he's like, I can't find it. And I'm like, where are you going that you can't find salmon? But anyways...
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Salmon's literally everywhere. You can get it in the fucking can.
Yeah, and last night he was like, we're going to the market, and if they don't have salmon in the case, I'm going to order you a fish sandwich from this restaurant down the street. And I'm like, they also have a salmon dinner. Can't you order me the salmon dinner? He's like, I'll get you the fish sandwich. And I'm like, I don't want a fried fish sandwich.
I do. That actually sounds real good right now.
It is good, but I'm trying to lose weight, so it's like... avoiding fried food wherever I can.
Right. I get that. Maybe I should start doing that. Oh, well.
So, yeah, that's my blessing, my curse. I'm tired of fish, but it's almost over.
Yay, almost over. Woo!
All right, are you ready to drink?
Yep, let's get into it.
Wait, I thought you got the...
No.
Okay. That's on me. I saw you, like, pulling something out of that shelf, and I assumed it was this.
No worries.
All right, this week, we're drinking... Educated Guess, estate-grown Chardonnay, Reserve, Napa Valley, 2023. It's almost as old as you are, Paul.
That just means I'm younger. That's not even an old joke, DJ.
Sometimes I pay you compliments.
Oh, well, thank you then.
And there's nothing on the back, so let's get into it.
You know what? It's kind of a serve not to have anything on the back of the wine bottle.
On the back, it says exactly what I read on the front, except there's an added line. Produced and bottled by Roots Run Deep Winery, Napa, California.
Honestly, I like it short and sweet.
Sabrina Carpenter.
And you know one thing about Sabrina Carpenter is I'm starting to think she might not actually know anything about carpentry.
I don't think so. I ruined that cork.
Well, trash.
Well, none of it went in the wine, so we're good. ASMR pour number 1. ASMR pour number 2. You're safe. Everything is all right. Feel the stress pour out of your body like the wine being poured into the glass. All of your stress has been poured out.
Can I just say before we try this, I already know this is going to be one of those buttery fucking wines, and I'm already slightly gagging because I don't know why today. I just know this wine is going to hit me in a place I don't want it to, but we're going to do it.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh.
No, that hit me exactly where I needed it to hit.
Actually, that's actually surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, educated.
It's not too buttery, not too oaky, which is my favorite type of Chardonnay.
Mm-hmm. You know, I guess my educated guess was wrong in this instance. It's actually a really good wine. And you know what? I'm happy for that. After that Phantom wine we had last week, this is a nice surprise.
Yes. It's very nice to have a nice wine because we've been striking out the past couple weeks.
Yeah, no, this is good. I'm going to give this 4 grapes. Not my favorite, but it's still a really good wine. If you need a nice summer wine, Yeah, this is a good go-to. Yeah, it's a really good wine. I'm pleasantly surprised.
Me too.
How many grapes?
I'm going to give it 5.
5 grapes? Oh, girl. Okay. Interesting.
Just because, like, I needed this.
She's a home run for you. That's good. I feel it.
I would buy this again.
You know what? I would probably buy it too. Maybe not, like, if I was sharing it with her. Sorry, if I was sharing it with someone, yes. But if it was just me, oh no. No, ma'am.
I can't drink a whole bottle of Chardonnay by myself. I used to. Can't do it anymore.
Yeah, those wine headaches, they creep up on you quick when in your 30s. Well, when you're coming up on your 30s.
Yeah, Chardonnay is you have a glass kind of wine.
Mm-hmm.
Cab Sauv. That's a drink. That's a bottle wine. That's a bottle wine.
Preach. Let the girls know.
Anywho, Paul, may I tell you a story?
Oh, you want to enter me with your story?
Never mind.
Oh my god.
Never mind. I'm just going to tell you it. Let me tell you a story. Fuck you.
Okay.
The figure, darker than the pitch black of the night, moved silently through the farmhouse. Silence permeated the home, and the whole of the heartlands outside, but inside their mind was anything but silent. "Do it," the voices hissed. "It hath been willed." Feeling a tingle of anticipation in their stomach, the figure glided past the rooms where children slept and into the main bedroom. It stood there and observed the slumbering couple. "Do it," the voices commanded. "Salvation be thine if thou wipest the sinners from existence." The figure approaches the recumbent figures and raises an axe and hesitates. "Slay utterly," the voice orders, and without a shred of doubt or reluctance the figure brings the axe down, feeling the exhilaration and ecstasy of taking a life. But now is not the time to revel in the afterglow. That will come later, after they have finished, because now, 1 down, 7 to go. This week we will be covering murders in the Midwest, the Villisca Ax Massacre.
And that was an interpretive dance.
I could see out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, don't look, you're going to lose it.
You're welcome for the interpretive dance to the Villisca Ax Murders, which I assume...
Villisca,
which I assume is a very pleasant, happy story, just in time for spring when we want, like,
absolutely.
Good thoughts.
But anyways, here are my sources. Murderhouse.com, Smithsonian Magazine, Astonishing Legends, the podcast, Morbid, the podcast, and Reddit.
Period. Get into it. I'd love to hear the sources so we don't get sued.
Yes. And I figured out that I have to put them at the top of the thing so that I actually remembered to shout them out like you do.
Period.
So let's get into the town of Villisca, Iowa. It was originally named The Forks by town founder D.N. Smith before they changed it to Villisca. The townspeople chose the name due to the similarity to the Sac and Fox tribe word Waliska, which they thought meant pretty view. But being ignorant colonizers, they did not realize that the actual meaning of the word was place of evil spirits.
Okay, low key, it's kind of a badass mistake.
It's a very common mistake. And here's the thing, it's very coincidental and it's very on the nose in this story because something terrible happens later on. But this happens all across America where white people come in, they take land, and then they give it a Native American name, which is a word that they don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, I mean, we talked a lot in Bridgewater Triangle how they moved in and to places that had names that meant evil spirit and they just moved in anyways. This is a case where this land was not called by the Sac and Fox tribe place of evil spirits, but they gave it the name of the word that meant place of evil spirits.
Okay.
And for us English speakers, it's kind of like somewhere in, let's say, Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
And people found a village and they decide they're going to call it exorcism.
Okay, thinking it means something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thinking it means pretty.
Right.
But it actually means
And that goes back to an interesting conversation, too, because we give meaning to words. So if, like, them thinking the word means something when someone, like, thinks it means something else, what is the real meaning? Does the person give the meaning to the word?
Yeah. Anyways, it was founded shortly before 1858, and in 1858, it was chosen to be a stop on the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad, which would bring a boom to the local economy, and within 9 years, the town had become a major retail, trading, and shipping hub in the area. So you have to remember, this is, like, still horse and buggy time, but a railroad meant you had anything. And the railroad is very important, not only to the town, but to the story later on.
Okay, we'll keep the railroad in mind.
By the turn of the century, it had a robust community of 2,500 residents and was lauded as one of the state's finest towns in a 1912 article.
Thank God they were the best in 1912.
Well, that's important because our story actually takes place in 1912.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, okay, that makes sense then.
At the heart of this community was the Moore family. They were well-liked and well-respected. It was headed by Josiah B., or J.B. Moore, who was formerly a salesperson for local businessman and politician Frank Jones. However, he split off from Jones in about 1904, around there, and opened his own farm equipment and hardware store directly across the street from Jones's store. And to add insult to injury, he took the coveted John Deere contract with him.
Not the John Deere contract.
You know John Deere, right?
Well, yeah, one
of
Everyone
the most famous knows John Deere.
Fucking tractors out there.
So exactly, and this was even the case in the early 1900s. Was like you wanted a John Deere,
right.
And JB basically like was so good at selling John Deere that when he left Jones's store, John Deere pulled its contract with Jones and moved it to this brand new fucking store across the street.
Okay, interesting. And that cost him a lot of money, I imagine. Yeah. A lot of business.
And also directly across the street, you're standing there and it's like, well, I've been shopping with Jones for years, but Moore has John Deere. And so Jones is probably standing in the window and just watching the people walk in, and it's like,
that really would make it the place of the evil spirits. It sounds like he's summoning like a demon or something. Oh my God.
Speaking of last week, I had a family dinner. I don't know what my cousin was saying. She was speaking a dead language and summoning demons as we ate Chinese food. I'm just trying to eat my lo mein and pork dumplings, and she's speaking ancient curses.
Just like out of nowhere, or like
she was saying lo cow reduncu.
Oh, so she was actually saying something.
She was saying something that the Gen Z say, but it sounded like a dead language summoning demons.
Oh, God. Not that.
Truly. Also at the head of the family was his wife, Sarah Montgomery Moore, who was heavily involved in the family's Presbyterian church and well-liked by all of her neighbors.
Those are the ones you gotta watch out for, though. Those well-liked girls, they're hiding something.
Mm-hmm. They had 4 children. Herman, 11. Catherine, 10. Boyd, 7. And Paul, 5.
Heart.
The family lived in a nice but modest home at 508 East 2nd Street, which was built after the railroad opened for a George Loomis, who then sold it to J.B. in 1903. The home consisted of 2 bedrooms on an upper floor, a parlor and a downstairs bedroom or sewing room, a kitchen, an outhouse, and a barn.
Sounds like a nice place. Big place. Probably
it is pretty nice. It is pretty nice.
Today it would probably sell for like $1 million fucking.
I mean, with all the history that it has, yeah.
Well, even without the history, like, a place like that, so expensive. Property is impossible these days.
Maybe because of the property, but I mean, a 3-bedroom house, and it's not
3 bedrooms? Yeah, that's expensive. That's crazy.
But it's not very large.
3 bedrooms is pretty large, and there's a fucking barn.
But you need to think about square footage, because, like, you could have 3 bedrooms so it's a shoebox, or you could have 3 bedrooms and it's a mansion.
That's okay. Okay. You got me there.
On June 9th, 1912, the family attended a children's program which Sarah had organized at the local Presbyterian church, which was about a 5-minute walk away. Before leaving for the 8 p.m. function, at 6 p.m., J.B. called the Stillinger residence to ask if their 2 younger daughters, Ina and Lena, friends of Catherine, could spend the night after the function. The Stillingers lived on a farm about 7 miles outside of town, and due to an ongoing dispute between the town council and the electric company, all the street lights in town were shut off that night.
That's so weird. Wait, why were they shut off again?
The town council and the electric company were fighting probably over, like, pricing.
Mm-hmm.
And so the electric company was like, if you don't like our prices, then we'll just shut it off.
That's crazy.
Right? Nowadays, you can't do that.
No. Thankfully.
But this wasn't, like, a huge disruption to most of the townspeople themselves, because a lot of the houses didn't have electricity yet, and if they did, they still had their oil lamps. People didn't have TVs or radios. They went to bed early. So, like, it wasn't a huge disruption. But the Stillingers had already arranged, because they knew about the power outage, for their 2 daughters after the program to go stay the night with their grandmother, who lived closer to town, because they lived 7 miles outside of town.
Mm-hmm.
But when JB called, it was like, okay, this is a lot closer. This is a lot safer. They're not walking through the dark to their grandmother's house.
Okay.
They'll be with adults, and, like, they can come home tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So JB actually didn't speak to their parents, though. He spoke to their older sister, Blanche, who said that her parents were out, but they wouldn't have any problem with it, and that she would let them know when they got back. The family and the Stillinger girls arrived back at the Moore residence around 9:30 after the conclusion of the children's program. Now, I've heard a lot about the story, and I always thought the children's program was like a picnic.
Mm-hmm.
It was not. It was like an evening church service with, like, readings and poems and singing. So, like, not what we would describe as fun.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I bet back in the day that was probably a bumpin' party in 1912, though. The girls were getting together at the church, breaking it down, getting the girls together.
It was probably something more akin to it, like a children's service.
Oh.
Have you ever been to one of those at any type of church? It's
probably.
It's where it's mostly kids. Like, they have the children's choir, they have children readers. They, like, bring the sermon down to the level of children.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. No, I don't think I've been to one. I've been to youth groups and all that shit, but...
It's very youth group coded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
You know how youth groups, like, they bring the topics down to your level.
Right.
So very that. So, when they got back, Catherine usually slept on a twin bed in the downstairs sewing room off the parlor, but moved up to sleep with her brothers in the larger bedroom next to their parents' smaller bedroom on the second floor, while the Stillingers shared her bed in the downstairs bedroom. So, a little bit of shuffling going on.
Okay.
And this gives you an idea of where everyone is. The Stillinger girls are in the downstairs bedroom off the parlor.
Okay.
Upstairs, there's, like, stairs that go up, and you're right in the parents' bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
There's no landing, you're just in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then off of that is the larger children's bedroom where all 4 more children are.
Mm-hmm.
The following morning, the Moore's neighbor, Mrs. Mary Peckham, noticed something odd about the house. She noticed it shortly after 5 a.m. when she went outside to hang her laundry to dry as the sun came up, and noticed the Moores weren't up and about doing their chores, but assumed that they would be out shortly.
Okay.
After all, she was already in bed when they got back, so
right.
she was like, okay, they had a late night, they went to that children's program, maybe they're just sleeping in a couple minutes.
They stayed up too late at the church.
Oh my God, they went to bed at 10 o'clock, those night owls couldn't be me.
And now they're not doing their morning chores. The devil is sneaking into that home.
But So, like I said, Sarah was very friendly, well liked by her neighbors. Her and Mary were friendly because they would do the same chores at the same time every morning.
Mm-hmm.
They would take their laundry out to dry and feed the chickens and milk the cows, and you'd be seeing each other across the yard.
Right.
Or even if Sarah was inside, she could see the lights on and smoke up the chimney. 4 children is very loud.
Yeah, very that. And I imagine the walls were probably pretty thin, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it probably wasn't a well-built house, so I imagine you could probably hear the kids from the outside a lot.
Right, but she just tried to, like, put it to the back of her mind, like, okay. But by 7 a.m., she was very concerned and went and knocked on their door and got no answer. She tried to enter the house just to call out to the family, but found both the front and back doors locked. Now remember, this is 1912 in the country. People did not lock their doors back then.
Right. I mean, they didn't even lock doors when I was, like, growing up. We would leave our doors unlocked and things.
Exactly. And while we think it's really weird that, like, your neighbor just walks into your house, remember, this is a different time frame where, like, if your neighbor didn't get any answer, they would just stick their head in and be like, hello, Sarah, JB, kids.
Yeah, I feel like that's a common thing in the country, too, because I definitely, like, had friends. I would walk into their house, and they would walk into mine, and, like, yeah, it's might be, like, more of a country, like,
yeah, it's
thing,
a very country
southern,
thing.
maybe.
And I think it was Astonishing Legends, where Forrest was saying, because he grew up, like, in a country-esque area, where his grandparents, like, never locked their doors, and just neighbors would, like, walk in, use the bathroom, and then his grandparents would come home and it would be like, oh, I stopped in and I used your bathroom, thank you very much. Or I needed to borrow a cup of sugar, here's $1 or so to replace it.
Right.
She then tried to look into the windows to see if the family had left because J.B. Moore's father was elderly. He wasn't doing well. Maybe there was an emergency. Maybe one of them got sick and they left.
Right.
But all the blinds were shut. She returned to her own house and she called JB's brother Ross to check to see if they had been called out of town. And then she called JB's store in town to find that his employees were concerned because he wasn't at work yet. At 8:15 a.m., Ross Moore arrived at the Moore residence and let himself in with a key he had for emergencies.
Well, damn, I guess they letting everyone in that house. I take back what I said before. They be letting everyone in this fucking house. Damn, they letting You said hello to them on the street in a good enough tone. You get a key to the house.
This is JB's brother.
Oh,
yeah, this
okay.
is JB's
That
brother.
makes more sense. Okay. I was like, damn, no wonder they got fucking murdered.
No. He walked into the first floor bedroom and saw a bloody sheet covering 2 bodies and a lifeless hand hanging over the side of the mattress. And he fled outside immediately and ordered Mrs. Peckham to call the town's marshal.
Wait, what does the town marshal do?
He's like, okay, we would think of it as a cop.
Oh.
But the way I kept hearing it described was he was the peace officer.
Ooh.
So, like, he didn't do a lot of investigative work. It was and Villisca was a dry town. So marshals mostly, like, arrested drunk and disorderly people. But it's a dry town, so there's not really drunk and disorderly people.
It's basically one of those corporate government titles that mean nothing.
I mean, he had responsibility for, like, law and order in the town.
Well, girl, don't the cops just do that?
There were no cops.
What do you mean there were no cops? No wonder they got fucking murdered. There's no cops.
He was the cop. They had one cop. It was him.
He's not even a real cop. He's a marshal. And his main job is to make sure they're not drunk in a dry town. No wonder bitches are getting murdered.
I don't know.
You get what I'm saying, though?
There wasn't a lot of crime in the town, but you needed to have a marshal.
Period. You know what? Bring back the marshal.
Just in case anything happened. We don't need marshals nowadays. We have police officers.
Well, bring it back and I'll be the marshal for Pittsburgh. And I'm going to make sure none of these whores are two-stepping and cross-dressing and none of this stuff.
So I'm pretty sure you had a sheriff for the county who was like the ultimate cop. Mm-hmm. And then each town had a marshal who was the law and order representative in that town who reported to the sheriff. So ultimately, like, you didn't have a town jail. You might have a town jail, but mostly you would, like, arrest the single person, send him to the sheriff, and the sheriff did, like, the actual cop thing, but you were, like, the first line of defense. JB's employee Ed Seeley arrived from the store to take care of the family's livestock, as he did whenever they went out of town, but Ross stopped him and said, quote, "Something terrible has happened here."
Ooh. I feel like that's like a quote we've, like, from all the things we've researched, I feel like I've heard that quote before.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I feel like so many people
Everyone
have
says
that.
it, but it's still chilling. It's a lot more chilling than saying, "There's been a murder here." Something terrible has happened. Oh, like, it gives you goosebumps.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what? And it's so much bigger than a murder.
Ooh.
Which this was so much bigger than a murder.
Okay, well, we haven't gotten into the details of that yet, so I'm curious why it's so much bigger than a murder.
So the town marshal, Hank Horton, arrived to inspect the rest of the house. He found the bodies of both Stillinger girls in the downstairs bedroom where they had stayed the previous night. Upstairs, he found JB and Sarah and their 4 children all dead in their beds. All of them had been bludgeoned to death with the Moore family's axe from the woodshed, which lay in the downstairs bedroom.
So the axe was still in the house?
And it was their own axe.
Well, I guess back in that day, you didn't have to worry about fingerprints and shit. They probably didn't have that technology.
The fingerprints had been wiped off.
Oh, okay. I guess they were worried
They did
about
have
that.
fingerprinting. But it's not like we think of fingerprinting today. They would have to get the fingerprints, and then, like, if you got arrested, they would fingerprint you, and they would compare them, like, to see if they matched up. There was no database.
That's crazy.
Around this time, Mrs. Stillinger was frantically calling the Moore house, as her daughters were supposed to have called when they woke up to let her know that they were all right and that they were on their way home. When she got through to an operator, she asked for the Moore house, and the operator replied, "You won't get any answer. Everyone was murdered at that house." And that's how she found out her 2 daughters were dead.
Okay, that's actually insane. That is, like, the most... I don't know if that's the crazy or, like, fucked up or, like, or nonchalant even. It's such a not a good way to handle that.
It's not. But I'm going to try and give the operator the benefit of the doubt. Mrs. Stillinger just says, "Can I speak to the Moore residents," or whatever the code was, and doesn't say, like, "I'm trying to get a hold of my daughters there."
She didn't know
because
who it
it's
was.
an operator, like, operator.
Right, she didn't know who it was.
The Moore residents, and the operator just told her. Because it's a small town. Everyone knows everyone. And because all the phone calls are going through the operators, like, the town gossips are working at that switchboard. You know they are.
So then you think she did know it was the mom, and she said that anyway?
No, she just heard, like, Moore residents.
Oh, she heard the gossip, but when the mom called, she didn't know it was on the mom on the phone, and that's why she said it like that.
So, okay. I'm going to get into this a little more. Let me do this next point because it goes right into this. At 8:40 a.m., Villisca Central Telephone Exchange issued an all-call and called every resident of the town with a telephone to inform them that murders had occurred at the Moore residence on 2nd Street.
Okay.
Because they didn't have police. It was just, like, sort of like, be aware this happened and that somebody's at large.
Right. I wonder I guess they'd send the marshal to the house.
I mean, the marshal was already there.
And he's like, "Well, gee willikers, guys, there's blood everywhere."
And I mean, like, Ross's wife and JB had another brother, Henry, so their wives are, like, calling people, like, to say, like, "Oh my God, did you hear?" And the operators would listen in. Like I said, they were, like, the best job for a town gossip.
Right.
Is telephone operator. Because they would connect the call and then they would listen most of the time.
Girl, I wonder if they had sex lines back then. I bet that was some good gossip.
Hold that for later.
Did you hear the pastor was calling 1-800-BIGBOOBS.com?
Hold that for later. Within an hour, hundreds of neighbors stampeded to the home and walked through the house to witness the horrific scene. Marshal Horton even let some of them hold the bloody axe used in the murders.
This Marshal has no training whatsoever.
No, he doesn't. He'd never investigated a murder before.
No, he probably wasn't trained. He probably just went to church every Sunday. They were like, well, that has to be the Marshal. He's at church every Sunday. He has to be great.
Like, do you think I can get fingerprints? Here, hold this. Can you see any fingerprints on there?
No, gee willikers.
Okay. Hey, Jebediah, do you see any? Do you think I can get here? Hold it. Do you think I can get fingerprints off there? But the creepiest thing is, some of them took pieces of JB's skull as souvenirs.
That's actually insane. And I would like to say, I wouldn't do that, but also some part of me thinks if I was in that situation, I might have taken pieces of, maybe not the skull, but something for like a little keepsake.
Okay, I'm a nipshit, so I wouldn't put it past myself that if I had the opportunity to walk through a fresh crime scene, that I wouldn't. I would not do that, though. Like, take a piece of the body.
Now, I think the important thing to probably note is, I imagine the skull still wasn't in his head. They probably weren't reaching around in his brains. But also, what if they were?
I mean, I say this now, but all of them had been beat with the axe so savagely that they didn't have faces anymore. Their skulls were basically bowls of bloody pulp.
Oh, jeez. That's crazy.
At 9 a.m., coroner Dr. Lindquist arrived and was appalled by the crowd scrambling through the crime scene, and he ordered Horton to call in the National Guard, which was housed at the state armory in town, to cordon off the house.
Right.
They called in the military.
See, I get it too. And you know what's coming to mind too? Is people like to hate on true crime girlies for being so like weird and like disgusting. But it's situations like this where people do have a natural morbid curiosity, but they're gonna think we're weird.
Right.
But stories like this happen where they're like flooding the crime scene and like all sorts of, I mean, even that driving down the road, like someone's stopped by a cop or there's an ambulance somewhere. Everyone's rubbernecking, but we're the weird ones because we're actually talking about it.
All I can think of when I said they called in the military was, call out the army, call out the navy, da da. You know that old World War II song?
Yeah, DJ, I definitely know that old World War II song real fresh in the brain here.
You used to drink at the VFW. What foreign war are you a veteran of, Paul, that you were drinking at the VFW?
My granddaddy was a person in the Navy. My other granddaddy was in the Air Force, okay? It's in my blood. And I was
Your granddaddy was a sailor in the Navy.
And you know what? He still served his country. And what about it?
Did he serve his country or did he serve his country?
Okay, low-key kind of served because he was the chef, so he kind of did serve.
Oh, yes. We love a Navy chef.
Yeah, he was doing the thing.
You know, my mom wanted to join the Navy. For two reasons. She wanted to see the world, and she heard that it had the best food out of any branch of the military.
I mean, clocks. I mean, she was probably trying to get away from... Oh, wait. Yeah, she was probably trying to get away from the cabbage that your grandparents was cooking. She said there has to be something better out there.
Yeah.
Thank God your grandparents don't watch this.
Oh, truly. At 10:30 a.m., a perimeter was set up, closing the home down from anyone not directly involved with the investigation. But that doesn't mean that JB's two brothers did not walk through the house, and one of his sister-in-laws went through the house to collect photographs to put in the newspaper.
She was going to make a scrapbook. She was going to make it cute.
I need photos for the obituary. Please let me in.
They let her in, though.
They did.
Mm-hmm. And she got those photos. I saw, hey.
Look at all these bloody footprints. And they lead right up to the sister-in-law. I'm just getting photos for the obituary.
In between the tears, she says, quick.
So, actually, the local pharmacist he was an amateur photographer, and he showed up to take pictures of the crime scene, and he was turned away because the marshal thought that he was going to have them printed into postcards and sell them and make money off of it. but it actually ended up kicking him in the foot because he was one of the first people in the scene. He could have documented the crime scene before it was tampered with.
Mm-hmm.
This has also been called...
Oh, I'll wait, because I was going to ask if he was a suspect or not.
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
This has also been called the most botched murder investigation in the history of the country as well.
Yeah, no shit! But also, can I blame the guy who had no training for this? Like, can we blame him for... I mean, it probably wasn't all his fault either, but
I mean,
whatever.
It's just nobody was prepared for this.
Right.
No one.
It's very much that thing. When you're in a small town, low country life, you think nothing bad happens there.
Exactly.
And then when it does, it's like, oh shit. It's like what happened with Ed Gein.
Yes, exactly. That afternoon, so all the bodies just stayed in this hot house in the middle of summer all day. Because that afternoon, after making his initial examinations, Dr. Lindquist called the coroner's jury, and the group again walked through the house and inspected all the bodies where they lay. It was not until 10 p.m., 14 hours after they were discovered, that Lindquist finally authorized the removal of the bodies. The town morgue was too small to accommodate the victims, so they were instead transported to the town fire hall.
What do you mean the town morgue was too small? There was 5 dead people.
8.
8. Okay. Even 8. The town morgue should at least accommodate 10 to 20 people.
I wrote in here that the town morgue, but basically everything said there was nowhere else to put them. So I don't even know if they technically had a morgue.
It was just a freezer in Joe Schmo's basement.
It was probably there was an undertaker and he had room for 2 or 3 people. Because 2,500 people, how many people are dying a day?
Well, yeah, I guess 8 now.
In one day, it's insane. The town was in a state of panic at the prospect of a murderer being among them, and the panic soon spread throughout the entire country through newspaper articles. For the first time since mid-April, the sinking of the Titanic was knocked off the front pages.
That's actually kind of crazy, but hey, gotta move on to something new. I mean, the story's gonna be old.
8 people knocking the murder or the death of 1,500 people off the... Well, actually, it's been 3 months, so it was probably time.
The people were probably tired. Well, actually, I can't even say that, because people are still talking about Titanic to this day, including...
Yours truly. Thank you. Thank you. The authorities were determined to bring the murderer to justice. They began going over the crime scene in minute detail.
Ooh.
They determined the murders to have occurred between midnight and 2 a.m. on the morning of Monday, July the 10th. JB was killed first and was the only one to be killed with the sharp edge of the blade rather than the blunt end.
Okay, that's actually kind of crazy that he killed everyone else with the other side.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost less... It's more mercy, I feel to be killed with the sharp edge than the blunt edge, I feel like. Because I feel like that would be a quicker death.
Okay, I did joke to my grandmother the other night because I was talking to her about this, and I was like, he couldn't even do it right. If you were going to kill someone with an axe, what end would you use? She was like, sharp end. And I was like, everyone knows that.
Right.
But also, so the blunt end, you have to think about it. It's still metal.
Yeah.
It's still heavy.
Yeah.
And so it creates blunt force trauma and kills you instantly.
Okay.
The sharp end also kills you instantly, but it does create a very long, sharp, invasive wound.
Okay.
So they're both brutal, but in this instance, because his main mode of operation is the blunt end, using the sharp end is almost like an insult. I'm trying to exact more damage on you.
I don't know. I just feel like the blunt end would take more work, and that's more of the
I mean, they were all killed with one blow to the head.
Oh, okay. See, that's interesting, too. It would be interesting to know why he only killed the father with the... Maybe he was more scared of the father, and he thought, this will take the father out quicker. That's so interesting. Let us know down below. Would you rather be killed with the sharp end or the blunt end of an axe?
The murderer then systematically killed Sarah, their 4 children, and then the Stillinger girls. None of them appeared to have woken up during the attacks, except for Lena Stillinger, who was found to be lying crossways on the bed, on her stomach, with her posterior in the air, and with what looked to be a defensive wound on her arm.
Interesting. So do you think, like, they tried to sexually abuse her or no?
Lena Stillinger also had her undergarments removed and seemed to be positioned in a way to expose her genitalia towards a chair in the room where the axe was found, along with a slab of raw bacon wrapped in a rag. Investigators suspected the murderer may have attempted to sexually assault the young girl or posed her in a provocative way and sat in the chair and masturbated with the bacon.
Oh! Bacon's a very interesting choice, first of all. Other than that...
Also, the bacon was from their own freezer. Or their icebox. He didn't bring anything with him.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make it better, and I feel like it doesn't make it worse. I feel like the bacon was a very creative choice, and I feel like that's something you don't really come up with them in the moment. So I feel like the bacon was probably something that was done before by whoever did it.
Mm-hmm.
And
there was also so there is some discussion about whether he attempted to sexually abuse her or if he got off to her posed her to get off, or if he moved her at all afterwards, because there was like a bloody smear on the inside of her knee. So they're not sure if she started to move and like thrash before he killed her, or if he did pose her.
Interesting.
It could have been either.
Yeah, I could honestly see either. And like, yeah, the more I've dove into true crime, it is interesting, like how some criminals do pose their victims before the police and whatnot get there to make it more provocative and make it more gory, to make more of an impact on people's psyches when they do find the bodies, which was a very prevalent thing in the Black Dahlia murders, but that's neither here nor there.
After killing them, like I said, he killed them all with one single blow to the head with the blunt end of the axe. He then went through the house and systematically beat all of them in the head, again with the blunt end of the axe, until their faces were nothing more than bloody pulp.
This is just so crazy. Like, why?
JB had the most wounds with 30 separate axe wounds, destroying both of his eyeballs, and there were even scrapes on the ceiling from where the murderer raised the axe to swing. So he was going so hard that he was scraping the ceiling.
Girl, he was trying to make their heads look like spaghetti.
Worse than spaghetti. Wendy's chili.
Not the chili!
While bludgeoning either JB or Sarah the second time, the murderer knocked over one of Sarah's shoes, into which blood had drained, and the collected blood spilled all over the floor.
Nuts.
So there was so much blood. One of her shoes was sitting at the side of the bed. The blood dripped into the shoe and filled it up, and he knocked it over.
That's interesting.
It's gross.
It is. This is all very gross.
It doesn't have anything to do with, like, the actual acts other than, like, there was that much blood.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize how much blood we have inside ourselves. There are a lot of blood in people. It's crazy. And I'm still, like, going back to the bacon thing. Like, how did he use the bacon to jerk off? Did he make, like, a fleshlight out of it?
That's my thought.
That's crazy.
Okay, because after he beat them all savagely, he went through the home and covered each of his victims so that their destroyed faces could not see him. For JB and Sarah, he used sheets and blankets. For the children, he used pieces of clothing because he had run out of linens. He also went through the house and, using sheets, blankets, pieces of clothing, covered all of the mirrors in the house and closed all the curtains and blinds. It is speculated that perhaps he could not face what he had done and did not want his victims looking at him or to even see himself.
Yeah, honestly, the psychology of this all is so interesting.
So, with that, and then he let's say, hypothetically, he did pose and get off to Lena Stillinger. There was still something within him that stopped him from actually molesting her.
Right, right.
But he would use this bacon.
And it makes me feel like it wasn't actually her that he was attracted to. It was just like dead bodies more that he was attracted to.
Also found in the house was an oil lamp with its glass chimney removed. So oil lamp, you have the tank at the bottom with the oil, and then you have the middle bit holding the wick. And you know that long glass part that protects you from getting burned or the fire, like setting anything on fire? That's called the chimney.
Okay, okay.
The chimney was removed, and the wick was bent down into itself so that only the smallest amount of light possible would be admitted.
Girl, he just needed that mood lighting. Relatable.
But also, if anyone walks by, they wouldn't see any lights on.
Oh, okay. Because he did do this at nighttime, so he didn't want to attract any attention. That's actually pretty smart.
Also found were a bowl of bloody water in the kitchen and a meal that was cooked in the home but left uneaten.
Oh, maybe he was cooking in the morning time, then heard people starting to come and ran out the back or something.
Or because people got up earlier than what time the sun comes up. He cooked it and then he thought, I don't have time for this if I'm going to make it out.
Right, right.
Robbery was ruled out as a motive because nothing was missing from them. Not JB's money, not Sarah's jewelry, not any of their farm equipment. And it was speculated...
Sorry.
No.
Sorry, just a quick thought. It would be interesting to know if, maybe he took a little trinket, because maybe they were focusing on, things that worth more value, but if he took, a little, let's say he took, a little piece of panties or something from the girl's drawer, no one would notice or anything,
Perhaps. But no, nothing was really taken. Well, that's not robbery then.
Yeah, I mean...
That's not robbery. But, everyone's first thought was, JB is an affluent man. Maybe, they came and they killed everyone and then stole something. No, he has cash. He actually left something, and it was a broken part of a keychain.
Okay.
And it was found by the axe in the slab of bacon.
Yeah, he probably didn't realize it was there. Yeah.
It was speculated that the murderer must have watched the family for some time to familiarize themselves with the routine before acting. In the loft of the barn, there was a knothole with an indentation of a body in the hay, indicating someone may have laid there and watched the comings and goings of the family. Various accounts also state that there were 2 spent cigarette butts also found up there.
Makes sense. I mean, he was just doing his due diligence, if you will.
There are accounts because nobody can agree if there were actually cigarette butts up there or not.
Oh, it's all hearsay.
There was also a heel print on the floor of one of the closets of the home, leading investigators to wonder if the murderer watched the family leave before letting themselves into the house and hiding in the closet.
I could see it.
To try and track the murderer, they brought in the famed bloodhounds owned by Elmer Nossinger to track the scent of the murderer left on the axe. Now remember, everyone has touched this axe in this town by now.
Right, right.
But even despite that, the hounds followed the scent across the plains to the nearby river before losing it, and they were unable to pick it up on the other side.
That's actually pretty impressive. That's really impressive, actually.
So, the murderer probably did go downriver and probably went down the river a little bit and then came out.
Right, right. Which, I mean, kind of smart on the murderer's end.
The town was soon inundated with detectives from well-known agencies such as the Pinkertons and the Burns Detective Agency, who sought to solve the crime themselves. Remember, there's no FBI now. There's no huge police forces like we have nowadays. What we do have is these detective agencies who were trained in investigating things like this. The only question was who in town would have enough hatred to brutally murder the Moore family and 2 little girls who just had the misfortune of spending the night at their home. Early suspicions centered on transient persons who roamed from town to town on the railroad, also known as hobos. There was actually an encampment by the railroad of African American workers who just traveled from town to town looking for work, And when news of the murders came out, they all fled because there was a previous case where there was a murder in the town and one of the African American men was accused falsely. So they just all fled, which is just awful that in this time frame that, like, you just went, oh, like, I'm not going to, like, we're going to be accused, and they just left.
Yeah, it is awful.
But one of the first men accused was one of these hobos, and his name was Andrew Sawyer. He was said to have been obsessed with the murders and slept fully clothed as if ready to run at a moment's notice, and always with an axe in his hand.
That's weird. I mean, that's giving like he did it. Like, girl.
He was questioned, but never charged. Next, it was suspected that JB's former employer and now business rival, Frank F. Jones, might have enough motive. Jones was one of the most successful businessmen in the town. Not only did he own a local hardware and farm equipment store, he also owned a significant number of shares in the local bank. It was serving in the state's House of Representatives and running for the state Senate.
I mean, people like that often don't really commit murders like this. Like, especially because this murder had more of a sexual motive, I feel like, where I don't feel like this person sounds like.
Now remember, prior to setting off on his own, J.B. Moore was his top salesperson, bringing significant profit, and cinched the deal with John Deere. And he took the John Deere contract with him and opened a store right across the street. To add insult to injury, it is suspected that J.B. was actually having an affair with Jones's daughter-in-law, Donna. During the investigation, it came to light that Donna was carrying on several different romances with men around town and arranged trysts through the telephone. These conversations had to be connected by an operator at the town switchboard, and the operators would often listen into the calls. It would gossip about what they'd heard later.
This is interesting, because now that with those additional details, maybe I could see him doing it. Like, especially, like, killing the father first.
Mm-hmm. And with the sharp end, like...
where he killed everyone else with the blunt end. Okay, yeah, I could see that now that you say that, yeah.
It was said that the two men hated each other so much that they would cross the street to avoid having to speak to one another. And following the murders, the Morse Presbyterian congregation unanimously decided that Jones, an influential member of the rival Methodist Church, had to have been guilty, while the Methodist Church supported Jones's innocence. So now we've got churches involved.
God. I mean, back in that day, though, churches were involved with a lot of people's life. Churches were a lot bigger thing and a lot more involved with everyday people's lives.
So, do you think Frank Jones could be so incensed at the repeated blows to his reputation that he could not only kill JB, but also annihilate his entire family and two young girls who might have witnessed the massacre?
Honestly, like, would make sense, but I don't think so. It's not... I think there's someone maybe a little more, like, messed up out there.
So, you're right, Paul. And after all, Frank Jones was a rich man, and rich men don't get their hands dirty. So enters William Mansfield, who is also known as Insane Blackie. He was not African American.
Okay, I was about to say
he was not African American. I checked.
Okay.
I was going to bring that up if he was. I don't know why he was called.
That would have been crazy.
I know why he was called Insane. I don't know where he got the nickname Blackie.
But that would have been crazy.
He was known as Insane Blackie.
Okay.
He was a soldier stationed at Fort Leavenworth, Illinois. He was identified by Detective James Wilkerson of the Burns Detective Agency as being the prime suspect in the murder of his wife, infant, and parents-in-law by axe 2 years after the Villisca murders. Wilkerson convinced a grand jury to have Mansfield expedited from Kansas City for interrogation. However, Mansfield had payroll documents that showed him to have been working in Illinois on the day of the murders and was released and later sued Wilkerson and run. However, R.H. Thorpe of Shenandoah, Iowa, who owned a restaurant there, identified Mansfield as the man who came into his restaurant the morning after the murders before catching a train and telling him that he had walked from Villisca. So the theory here is that Jones hired Mansfield, knowing his reputation, to commit the murders. And Mansfield, being known as Insane Blackie, did do this, like, it was probably just like, I just want you to kill more. And then...
Right, assassin for hire.
Yeah, and then it was just like...
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it clocks. I mean, even if they didn't hire him, maybe crazy dude just did it on his own. Mm-hmm. Girl, I even feel weird calling him, like, Crazy Blackie. That doesn't... Insane Blackie.
We can just call him Mansfield.
Mansfield, yeah.
I was just doing it more to demonstrate, because you don't get called crazy for nothing.
No. There's a reputation there.
But perhaps the murderer was a little closer to home than an assassin for hire or a disgruntled ex-employer. Someone like a disgruntled relative. Samuel E. Moyer was married to JB's sister, but left her and their infant child shortly into the marriage. JB then took on financial responsibility for his sister and her child. JB was known about time as being a very frank, blunt man. He wasn't known as being the friendliest.
Okay, yeah.
And was said to have repeatedly angrily berated Moyer to step up and care for his family. Moyer, a relative, would have had no problem knowing the routine of the family and being able to navigate the rickety wooden floors of the house undetected. He was actually arrested in Nebraska and under interrogation was found to have had an alibi that placed him in Nebraska without the possibility of him committing the murders and making it there by the time he was seen by others.
Interesting.
But the most famed and convincing suspect, however, is someone with little interaction with the family. Reverend Lynn George Jacqueline Kelly. Kelly was a traveling Presbyterian minister who emigrated from England. He was described as unusual by most who met him, and it was rumored that he had suffered a mental breakdown in his teens. He was accused multiple times of peeping and of asking young girls to pose for him in the nude. He was actually at the Villisca Presbyterian Church the night of the children's program and would have seen the Moore and Stillinger children even if he did not meet them or their parents. The following morning, he left town shortly after 5 a.m., and 2 witnesses on the train reported he said to them, 8 souls departed in Villisca, pity the hand who wrought it. 3 hours before the murders were discovered.
Interesting.
Investigators initially did not suspect the demure reverend, who was 5'2" and 119 pounds, of having the strength needed to commit the crimes. Remember, 8 people had their faces turned into bloody pulp. That takes a lot of strength. However, detectives later watched him chopping wood and stated that he had incredible strength for a man his size and swung the axe left-handed, which the coroner said, based on blood splatter, the killer could have been left-handed. In the weeks following the murders, he became obsessed with them and repeatedly wrote letters to detectives, witnesses, suspects, and more family relatives. At one point, when the county district attorney was there, he passed himself off as a former Scotland Yard detective to get access to the crime scene. Scotland Yard is the famous London police investigator, like, they handle big crimes in England.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, that was the first formalized police service in the country. In the world. In the country of the United Kingdom, but also in the world. So he's like, yeah, I trained with Scotland Yard.
Interesting.
In 1914, Kelly would be arrested after placing an advertisement in a South Dakota newspaper for a typist and sending a letter to the applicant that the judge described as, quote, so obscene, lewd, lascivious, and filthy as to be offensive to this honorable court and improper to be spread upon the record thereof. It is known that he told the typist that she would have to pose for him in the nude and type in the nude.
Yeah, you can't trust these priests. A lot of these priests, yeah, girl.
So if that's the part that's like, we can tell you this, imagine what else he was saying to her in that letter.
Right.
He was sent to St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Washington, D.C. and diagnosed with schizophrenia. And he was briefly married, but his wife confessed to a friend that their bedroom relations were never normal.
Okay, how so?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought you had details. Okay.
No, she just said that their relations, because you didn't say sex back then, their relations were not normal.
Okay, that could mean anything in 1912.
Yeah, it could mean that he had a kink that was gross, but...
Yeah, that could mean anything in 1912.
And when I say gross, I mean gross to his wife.
Right, exactly.
In 1917, Kelly was arrested for the murders at Villisca and confessed to having committed them, saying the voice of God told him to slay utterly.
Mm-hmm.
The confession was thrown out by the courts on account of his long history of mental illness and the fact that he appeared in court after making the confession severely beaten, leading to concerns of coercion due to brutality. Kelly was tried for the murder of just one of the 8 victims. You always try murderers on one out of multiple. So if it doesn't stick the first time, you can try them for another one.
Okay, interesting.
And due to a hung jury, the result was a mistrial. One of the 12 jurors refused to find him not guilty. The trial was reheard, resulting in acquittal due to the lack of evidence and many in the town suspecting that Frank Jones, now a state senator, had paid to have his accomplice Mansfield released, and Kelly tried to distract from his own guilt. Kelly later moved east and continued preaching while becoming increasingly erratic. He was later a chaplain of a chapter of the KKK in New Jersey before dying in a psychiatric hospital in upstate New York.
Bastard. That's all I'll say.
Right.
He's a bastard, for sure.
Before I make my final point, tell me your thoughts. What are you thinking?
Honestly, I'm leaning towards the priest at this moment in time. With the information I've heard and everything, I'm leaning towards this priest.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I'm leaning towards the priest at this moment with everything I've been presented with so far.
Okay. Now, as disturbing as these murders are, and despite the fact that we know a culprit, all we are able to do is make an educated guess.
Ooh, crazy.
We do put thought into the wines we have on each episode.
Sometimes I don't, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, because there's only so many wines out there.
Oh, I always do. I always try to find something that ties in.
Yeah, sometimes I pick them because they're pretty.
Well, I mean, the picture on the label can tie in.
Yeah, I do try to do that, but sometimes it's just like, well, we haven't tried this one yet, and we're gonna run out of we've already started repeating, but
that's fine.
It's all neither here nor there.
But this seems like a pretty cut and dry case. But what if I told you that while there is lack of evidence for each of the suspects I mentioned above, there is significant evidence that the Villisca Massacre was just one in a string of similar murders? Join us next week as we examine if Villisca was the work of one of America's first serial killers.
Ooh, I'm interested in that because honestly, the motives and how it was done and everything, it gives someone who might have experience, but also someone who really enjoys it, and someone who would probably do it again if they're taking that much time to do it and spending hours around the crime scene. It could even be someone who's comfortable around that, so maybe they even killed before that. So I could very much see that in the way, I mean, heck, maybe they knew going through the river would throw off the scent dogs and stuff. Someone who's done this all before and knew what they were doing. So I could very much see that. That's interesting. I'll be interesting to hear who that this possible serial killer could be.
Okay.
But also, going back to the priest, it could be the priest.
It could be the priest. I mean, there's something there. But also, he confessed, but, he confessed so long after that, he was just telling details that were, rehashed in the newspaper so many times. Well, let us know what you think, and tune in next week to find out more.
Below.
Please subscribe, follow wherever you are listening. Please connect with us on all of our social medias, and if you have your own personal stories, email us at our email below. Paul, where can they find you?
You can find me at my personal Instagram and TikTok at Paulember, Paulember. And as usual, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
And if you'd like to follow me, you can do so on TikTok and on Instagram at TheRealTeachPowers. And until next time, keep your grips tight.
And your corks loose. Bye. Have you ever been to the mall?